Nothing like the neglected child.
Ah,
Serge. I,
why are we starting this again, man? Come on. We're getting just disrespectful here.
you are the neglected
The
child.
theme had the no, no, no. This like
That
the theme has to end. Like,
I think let's just keep going with it because I feel
no,
like it's
this isn't
working.
like a thing. This is just disrespectful. I'm
all
gonna
right,
I
well,
like,
but you still are.
yeah, yeah.
But what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Back Pocket Podcast. Finally, we're getting the football soccer episodes for you guys. I know I sound like I don't know anything about it because I said soccer, and I'm very cognizant of when I say soccer, not sounding intelligent. Welcome back to another episode. This is episode 11. Oh, no, this is episode 12, right? 12 of the podcast, either 11 or 12. I believe it's 12. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you guys are all having a fantastic, I guess you guys will be seeing this on Thursday night. So we're going into an international break. We're going to be recapping the Premier League season so far. I believe we're 8 match weeks in. And we're very, very excited. Before we get into it, as always, as we do every episode, let me introduce ourselves. My name is Kean McDermott. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Charlie Nidell. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm excited to talk some football as most of the world knows it. So
Serge Canali, how are you?
doing good. Echoing Charlie's sentiment. Can't wait to talk ball.
But without further ado, let's hop straight into it. The first topic. Speaking of hot, let's talk about the I was almost about to say Arsenal. Tottenham fans would not be happy. Let's talk about Spurs. Obviously, the start that they have had has been fantastic in the Premier League. You look at their win against Bournemouth, obviously, or excuse me, against Luton with the late goal, red card, Van de Ven scores. That being said, as a Liverpool fan, I don't think they deserve the amount of points they have, but I do digress. Gentlemen, how do we feel about this hot start? There's obviously a lot of cogs going into a new coach. Obviously, James Madison has been brilliant. Van de Ven's been very good. Vicario has been very good. Udogi has been wonderful as a player. I think the difference for Tottenham this year is obviously the signings they have made, not only managerially, but also player-wise, has been absolutely fantastic. Charlie, I'll go to you first. When you look at Spurs this season, what's kind of different to you? Or is it just that
yeah,
obvious what
no,
the
it's a
difference
really
are?
different team. I think managerially is the big thing. I think a lot of people were expecting a really big fall off from Spurs this season just because Harry Kane left, and Harry Kane has been their best player, and it's not even close for the last 10 years or so. But I think what they've got going for them, obviously, Udogie, you mentioned, I think is the best left back in the Prem right now. I think there's kind of no
Yeah.
one better at what he does. And Romero and Van de Ven have been a really, really solid center back pairing. Pedro Porro's looked really good at right back. Vicario's potentially been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. Um, Tottenham look really, really strong. And I think the Luton game last weekend, although it was just a 1-0 loss against a Luton team that is not very good, was a really big sign of things to come for Tottenham, because this is a team that fought through getting a red card, still managed to score a goal with 10 men, and then was able to hold on for about 40 minutes of not great Luton pressure, but a man down and beating Liverpool. Maybe they didn't deserve all 3 points from that game, but they got all 3 points, and that's what matters. So I think that the last time I talked about Tottenham on this channel was after their 2-2 draw against Brentford to start the season. And I said that I didn't think tactically Tottenham were good enough to sustain what they did in that game. And that was a dynamic offensive threat, but not great defensively. I think they ironed that out really, really quickly. The next two games didn't concede a goal, conceded two meaningless goals against Burnley, and they've just looked like a much, much better team since week one. And I think this is a team that could genuinely go out there and challenge for the title. I don't think they will, but as of right now, top of the Prem, I mean, there's nothing much more they could have hoped for.
I think they're 100% going to challenge for it. And I think the difference is this year, and I think the managerially what was so smart by Postecoglou was actually putting Son as that 9, because I think it gave them the ability. I think the kind of central play they have that goes through Madison and then goes to Son, because we know, look, obviously Richarlison has not had the best start. He hasn't been terrible these past couple of games, but I think Postecoglou noticed like Heung-min Son is a finisher. And I think Heung-min Son is one of the only wingers in the Prem that can kind of transfer to the 9 seamlessly. And he's been fantastic. And I think what's been so good for Tottenham and what has brought them so much success is how clinical Madison is able to be in the midfield, bringing the ball forward, and then Son just finishes it. Yeah, I mean, it's the difference is the fluidity, is that they can score goals now. They have defenders now that are good. They have a keeper that is very good. So I think for Tottenham, it's just kind of the perfect, all the pieces are in check. And I think you look at a team who, title challenging, they're arguably, I know City are the best team, but I think you could argue Tottenham are the best team in the Premier League right now, which obviously is a very
top
hot
of the
take.
table. We'll tell you that. So,
but yeah, they did not. It's not a matter of maybe they didn't deserve those points against Liverpool. They 100% clean cut did not deserve that win. But I digress. Surge.
Yeah, I think really what Postecoglou's done is, although they lost their best player in Harry Kane, he made it more of a balanced, cohesive unit. Like the defense with adding Van de Ven and finally having Romero healthy has made them such a better team because they finally have some defensive solidity. Obviously, Romero starts for Argentina, has always been one of the better center backs in the world. Not one of the, I mean, kind of like, I know Lionel Messi called him the best center back in the world. I wouldn't say he's that high, but he's definitely a very good center back. And Van de Ven with that left foot kind of giving them great ability to play out of the back. He's super fast, super strong, really easy for Spurs to play that high line that Postecoglou wants to. And with guys like Udogie, who's been so great in that inverted fullback role, and Porro as well, who has also been great inverting, because has really allowed Spurs to be very good in that 2-3 system where they can really control possession, control the game really well against even the best of the best. Like Arsenal, they weren't dominated. They weren't sitting back the entire game. And then obviously Madison, who I was always high on, has been definitely one of the best signings of the season for any Premier League team. You have guys like Bissouma, who's been great, where he's finally been able to be healthy and get a chance to start. And then you also have, again, Son, like you said, in that number 9 role, he's been great, very clinical. You have guys like Kulusevski, who's been solid. Manur Solomon, whether he's been coming off the bench or starting, has been a very underrated piece to this team. When I think about Spurs, I kind of compare them to a Walmart version of Arsenal last year, where they were very good. They kind of really found their system that really suited them and got in a few new players that really helped them push them to that next level. But I think the problem is lack of depth is going to hurt them, and I don't think they're as good as Arsenal was last year. And I think they're definitely going to get top 4. I think they're a very strong team, but I can't see them contending with the likes of City or Arsenal or even Liverpool right now.
So I agree on a general level, but I think that this is not a Walmart Arsenal. This is what we're looking at from Arsenal last year. I don't see anything worse about this Spurs team because they're top of the table right now. And not only that, but you think Tottenham will struggle depth-wise. That's exactly what happened to Arsenal last year. The second Saliba went down injured, their title race was over, and they completely choked it away. So I think that this Tottenham team is a lot like what we saw from Arsenal last year. I just don't think that they're quite like Arsenal in the sense that they're straight up just not as good. I think story-wise, they're similar. It's just talent-wise, I think they're missing a couple pieces in there that's going to prevent them from challenging from the title. But I think that you're right. Lack of depth is a problem. They actually, I think, made a really, really smart signing, grabbing Brennan Johnson from Nottingham. I really love Brennan Johnson, a guy who can play on the wing for them, a guy who can play up top. We haven't seen a lot of him so far, but I hope that changes. Yves Bissouma looks like a totally different signing this year. He was one of the worst signings of the year last year, and now already looks like one of last year's best signings just because of the 8 unbelievable games he's put in so far. Pape Sarr also looks great next to him. James Madison.
Signing of the summer.
Signing of the summer, definitely in that conversation. So,
I think Bellingham across every single league, but yeah, for the Prem for sure.
I think impact wise, it's Madison. You look at the transformation. Real Madrid were good. I think Madison is.
Bellingham. I'm
a
huge Madison defender.
Bellingham has what, like 5 tap-ins? Like, let's be honest here. Bellingham.
No, I mean you are. That is true. I do agree with that.
Like, let's be honest here. James Madison's impact, I think, is far greater.
Man, that being said, I hate that people say that because, like, why isn't Pedri scoring 10 goals in 10 games?
Well, Bellingham does play higher up too.
Okay, so why doesn't Madison have 10 goals in 10 games?
I think you impact different. You have players who will impact.
Right. No, they do. And Bellingham's impact is he can score goals out of nowhere.
I don't know. I think they're tapping. Look, the impact's great. I think Bellingham's been fantastic. There's nothing taking past him, but I think you look at the quality of goal. He played striker. He played 9 for 2 games. So I think you look at positionally, it's been huge. And the only thing I will say is that Madison has been someone who has gone into a Tottenham team that is not good and has transformed them. Like Madison, you could almost not just Madison, but has been the impetus behind that. Whereas Bellingham goes into a Real Madrid team that's already fantastic. That being said, I don't want to hate on Bellingham because he's been amazing. I'm not taking it down, but I think there is a bit of a level between what Bellingham's doing and what Madison is doing, in my opinion.
Okay,
we'll move on. Chelsea, Charlie, take it away. Look at finally they're scoring goals. I mean, thank God. It looks like they finally found the personnel within that 11 more or less that is kind of consistent. I think the signing of Cole Palmer, actually shockingly, I think if you look at the history of Chelsea, the signing of Cole Palmer, I was like, that's going to be a disaster. I can predict that right there. I won't say he's proven me wrong yet, but he has not been. He has definitely been an impact player. But Charlie, as a Chelsea fan, what are we thinking, obviously, after these big 2 Premier League wins?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the numbers behind it, but 3 straight win in all competitions for Chelsea. You go back, we beat Brighton in the Carabao Cup. I don't know the last time that happened. It's been at least a year, if not longer.
And it's like, Charlie, it's Chelsea have, and at least in my mind, have always just been like, oh, they're in a bad stretch of games, but it's really been like a year of just really poor play. I feel bad for
I mean, it's been about a year since Thomas Tuchel was sacked, and since then it's been all downhill. I don't know. I think we are starting to see Chelsea regain their footing. I don't want to come out here and say that, we're back to the Chelsea of old, the Chelsea that won the Champions League, because we're not. I mean, it's not, the goal that Burnley scored at the weekend was some pretty unbelievably bad defending from Marc Cucurella, who should really never be in the starting 11. It's so unfortunate that we have 3 injured / suspended outside backs right now. But I think that the Chelsea team, we're starting to see some consistency in Pochettino's lineups, which we just never had from Graham Potter. We never had that from Frank Lampard. I think that's the biggest thing. I doubted him when we came out with Levi Colwill at left back to start the season. Ben Chilwell was our left midfielder. But the team is starting to gain form, and I still can't say that I'm 100% solid with Colwill at left back because I think he's better off as a center back. And I think now, obviously, Ben Chilwell is injured, but Ben Chilwell at left back is much better than at left mid. We saw his lack of goal scoring prowess. But I think a 4-1 win against Burnley, a 2-0 win against Fulham, both were examples of how dangerous this Chelsea team can be. 2 goals in, I believe it was 81 seconds against Fulham from Mudryk finally scoring a Chelsea goal, and from Broja finally back from the horrible torn ACL. But the main man it's been Raheem Sterling. There's been no one better in this Chelsea team other than, weirdly enough, maybe Conor Gallagher. But Raheem Sterling has been so unbelievably good this year. The fact that he wasn't a Premier League Team of the Week this week was just baffled me, because he scored a goal, won the penalty, forced the own goal, and had the pass to the assist on the 4th. Contributed on all 4 goals in the Chelsea game this weekend. Somehow did not end up in the Premier League Team of the Week. This team looks like a different team. I can't say they're out of the rut, but they just look different. So
I'm happy for you, Charlie, but sir, I know you remember. Let's reel it back to when Charlie said, I never want to see Raheem Sterling step on the field again for Chelsea.
Hey, this is a guy who completely lost his mojo last year. He played awfully last year. He was bad last year.
No, but you said that which it was after
week 1.
Yeah. Look at Chelsea. Look what you've done to your fans.
They changed my mind really quick.
Yeah, I think they look great. I think it's obviously Charlie. I mean, Charlie, we've all known they've had the talent there to score, to put up 4 goals in a game. So I think for them, that's obviously huge. I think finally Nicholas Jackson, who I actually am a very big fan of. I hope he is successful. I really like his style of play. I think, I actually think, Charlie, it's very funny how similar him and Timo Werner are. At least for strikers for Chelsea, fast, hold up, are very direct, but the finishing, at least for Nico Jackson, was atrocious. through most of the first match weeks. But now you look at a player who seems to have gained some confidence. Yeah, Sterling. I mean, that's I think the guy. I think now Chelsea fans and you notice that it has to be Sterling who's the guy you guys will lean on now. And yeah, defensively you have pieces. I think defensively though, I think you guys are good. I still don't love Sanchez. I
Me either.
still don't love Sanchez. I think
I'm
you guys are.
unconvinced.
I think you might. I think the goalkeeper question might still be unanswered. I think Kepa might come back if Real Madrid don't end up making that permanent. I think Kepa might come back, and I think maybe start, which would be weird if he just went on loan for a year. But I think you're starting to figure it out, which is huge, and it took a year, and I think it shows how. I think it's a message to all teams now, where it's like we do football a lot, and it's like you can blow up teams, and that generally kind of works. But I think in this kind of football, you really need to kind of keep some of your key pieces. And I think Chelsea didn't really do that. And we obviously saw the repercussions and how long it's taking them to really get back on their feet. And Charlie, I don't even think we can fully say they're back on their feet yet.
No. Oh,
I
absolutely
mean,
not.
yeah, no, I think you need to see they're back on their feet once they are contending for top 4 again.
Look,
which I don't think
it was a huge 2 wins in the Prem, but it came against Burnley, who are third to last right now, and Fulham, who are not too much higher. So this is by no means are Chelsea back on their feet. But I think these 2 wins in a row sets up Chelsea in a really, really good position to challenge for that number 5 spot.
Yeah, I think Arsenal in 2 weeks is going to be a huge test for them. I think that's definitely one of the premier teams in the league right now. And obviously it's a very promising stretch for Chelsea, not only just the 2 wins in the Premier League, but also beating Brighton in the Carabao Cup. They definitely seem to have, I think, something that really was a mistake by the last 2 managers, but what Pochettino is doing, like Charlie said, is really establishing a continuity with the starting 11, because I think that's really, if you want to get back in form in the Premier League, you can't just keep rotating. Like City, you can afford to do that, because with Arsenal, you can afford to do that because you've already kind of built a team where many players can buy in. But there are a bunch of moving pieces here. There needs to be a bit of consistency with Chelsea. And now having guys like Cole Palmer, who's playing consistently and stepping up, guys like you said, Sterling, who's stepping up. Jackson,
Roy, I think is a big
even
one.
though the goals, I think he's definitely someone who really contributes to Chelsea's play. And I think really, even though he isn't scoring the goals, I think they're going to come. I think it's kind of a similar situation almost to Darwin Nunez, where I know he's definitely struggled for form in terms of finishing, but I think eventually it's going to improve. But I think Chelsea really are going in the right direction. I don't think they're going to beat Arsenal though, but I think it's definitely I think like Charlie said, there's a very good chance they could be challenging for the top 5 at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem for Chelsea right now is that the morale is about to drop substantially because our next 5 fixtures are against Arsenal, Brentford, Spurs, City, and Newcastle. And that's a really, really tough run of games. That's 5 tough games. I know Brentford haven't looked fantastic this year, but at times they have. And against the Chelsea team that would just be coming off potentially a loss against Arsenal, they're looking at Spurs, City, Newcastle. It's going to be a tough run of games for Chelsea for sure. Even after that, it doesn't end. We got Brighton and United is the next 7 games. And that's a really, really tough 7 games. That's just about the toughest 7 games you can play in the Premier League. And while Chelsea have this 2-game win streak, it's going to take a whole lot just to extend that by 1 more. And I think morale could seriously drop. You could see them dropping places in the league because if they're not picking up points, then they're not, it's going to be viewed as a failure.
Yeah.
Really.
Let's move on now to a more of an interesting topic. And that's Manchester United. I know you guys have talked about them, obviously, in the last episode. As a Liverpool fan, I love it. But I think maybe they're taking Chelsea's spot. I don't know. Man United look obviously they did get that the win against Brentford. So maybe there's a change of heart there. But I mean for some reason, whenever I think of Man United, I think of Onana. I don't know why. But what do we think the issue is there? Because, I mean, look, for one, I think goals-wise, they're struggling there. I love Højlund. I think Højlund is going to be great. I think I think they have an answer there. I don't think they'll have a Chelsea-like fall. But, I mean, I don't get it with Onana because he is a good goalie, and I don't think they can give up on him yet. But it's almost, to me, it's still in my mind, like, why did you leave Inter?
For me, it's almost like he's like Aaron Ramsdale on steroids. What I mean by that is that whenever he like fails to make a save, he just looks so goofy and just so like it
Yeah.
looks like such a weird attempt. It's like, what are you doing? But he's also capable of making like camera saves, amazing saves, obviously great playing with the ball at his feet, but at the same time, just so many like that Icardi goal that they let in against Galatasaray. I get it's a 1v1 chance, but he gave him it was so easy to chip him. It was not really even that great of a shot. So very obviously, I think kind of how kind of erratic he's been. He's kind of I see why you think of Onana when you think of United, because he's kind of just the epitome of kind of the catastrophe that's been United this year. But I think when you talk about the problems, it's a bunch of lists. I think first of all, I will say injuries have played a big role. Losing Luke Shaw, Lissandro Martinez, Varane's been out for a little bit. Wan-Bissaka's been out for a little bit. So that's a potential starting back four right there. You have Mount, who's been out, but now he's back, but he's been out for a little bit. You have Anthony, who's obviously missing because obviously we don't know why.
And because he sucks anyway. So
but he does suck.
Charlie's the number one Anthony Charlie hates.
I mean, he does suck. I mean,
he's not good.
He's not good. I think Sancho's been out because I think rightfully criticized Ten Hag, and now he's not going to get any playing time. That's obviously a big problem with the amount of players missing. But at the same time, they're Manchester United. They have a bunch of that. They should still be winning the games that they aren't winning. Like in particular, I think even the Brentford game where they did win, I almost think it does more harm than good, because that kind of allows you to say, okay, what we're doing right now is okay because we won. But that was very, very ugly performance. It didn't look like they were going to score until Scott McTominay decided to be the hero, which whoever made him a 6 in the first place made a big mistake, because his like best qualities is literally kind of
finishing
the box. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not just this game. You see him for Scotland also. He's one of their
he scores goals.
He's goal scorer. I mean, I saw someone say it, and I know it sounds crazy, but it's like someone was suggesting they almost use him in a similar way to where Real Madrid used Jude Bellingham, someone who plays as a forward midfielder, but also
basically that his position doesn't matter at all.
It's like, I don't know really how to explain Jude Bellingham, but like it makes sense when you consider that McTominay definitely one of his strengths is playing in the box. So I don't understand why he was entrusted with things like build up and all that when that was never really his strength. But he was the hero that game. Great performance.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw Scott McTominay's touch map against Brentford. He had a whopping 5 touches and 2 goals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
hey man, that's all you need.
That's the most productive game pretty much ever. I mean, I know Julian Green scored a World Cup goal on his first touch, but
is he the next Haaland?
He was supposed to be. He was supposed to be better than Haaland, but they ruined his career. They misprofiled him. But yeah, I think overall he really stepped up there. But a lot of players have really been underperforming. Rashford has really underperformed. Bruno, he's really good in certain games, and then other games he just like is completely invisible. And I think that's also because of his play style, where he plays very kind of he's not a controller. He's definitely someone who likes to create a bunch of chances. And like obviously when you're playing against a good team where you need a bit of control, or even a bad team that's low block and you can't kind of find that final pass, definitely something that can be very annoying because it's very erratic. The ways, again, erratic, I'm saying that word a lot, but it makes sense considering United's season so far. Casemiro, someone who I know has actually scored a bunch of goals for United, but he's been someone I think he's really fallen off compared to last year. And I think you can see that really defensively. I know, again, they've had injuries there, but he was the main reason why they were so good during that long stretch of time, United last year, because he was able to really kill the transitions when other teams countered against United. This year, you're seeing them really give up a lot of goals on the counter, being very vulnerable on these breaks. And I think that's been these players kind of really falling back down to earth, really further than back down to earth. They're really playing much below their level of caliber. I think that's been the main problem.
I actually don't like the Casemiro hate. I don't think it's warranted. I still think he's fantastic.
No, I disagree.
He's
I think
slow. He doesn't make tackles. I don't know if you saw. I think it was one of Galatasaray's goals. In the Champions League where he was beat, and you see him sprinting back, and he's moving like I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of like Jorginho running next to the ref, and the ref
Oh
like runs
yeah,
faster
yeah,
than him.
yeah.
That's what Casemiro looked like. I don't think he was ever. He was never. Not. I don't think he was never the fastest of players.
Mhm.
At Real Madrid, his speed is not his thing, even at United last year. But the rest of the team around him being as I'm gonna say incompetent. It's not totally true, but playing as the only defensive midfielder has really hurt him this year because he
Yeah.
can't do it alone.
And
Mount
to
and
be
Bruno
fair-
to be
in front
fair
of
though,
him
yeah,
does
we
not
talked
work.
I think that's a great point because we actually talked about in our episode in the summer, like pre Premier League season, and we were talking. It was one of the I think it was our first episode we did about soccer, and we were talking about the Mount signing and just like what we thought of it. And I know that we obviously had kind of a disagreement. I'm not sure who it was between. I know I was for Casemiro being like, yeah, I know that they're gonna have 1-6, but if there's a 6 who can do it, it's Casemiro. So I think I was very wrong there because I agree. And I don't know. I find myself recently just being very disappointed and just very upset with how some players who are so good in other leagues coming to the Premier League and just kind of wasting it. And again, I guess take you either believe that it's too early for Onana to say he's been terrible or don't. But Casemiro, I mean, to be fair, Casemiro had a fantastic career. So whatever he did at United, and he was very good last year. So it's definitely tough, but it just shows kind of the what the Premier League does to players, and it's so hard to pinpoint it. But I just really think like a team like Brentford or a team like that like could go up against a Barcelona or Real Madrid, and like, do we think it would be that close between kind of I guess Brentford aren't a mid-tier, like slightly above mid-tier team to go up against some of the better teams in the world and in other leagues and compete. So I think again, I completely went off track here, but I think it is a testament to just how competitive the Premier League is as a league.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll move on. Gentlemen, very interesting topic. Top 5 players in the Premier League at the moment. We'll go through each other's top 5. Charlie, I'll go to you first. Who is your top 5?
I want to hear Surge's first. Sorry, I hate
Oh,
to.
Surge's.
You just said it to me, but
Wait, does it? Well, are we including?
Surge always has questions.
But that's
Surge
actually a
always
valid question.
What?
Are we including injured players?
I'm talking just production this season.
Yeah, we're
So,
talking about
no.
top 5
just
in the
this
league,
season.
man.
Oh,
I'm talking top 5
No,
this season.
No,
players.
Surge, top 5 players in the Premier League ever. That's what we were talking about.
No, I thought you mean like just right now based on quality top 5 players, not just this season. Like I can't include De Bruyne because he's been injured all season.
Correct.
So
He has not played.
Yeah.
Okay, so top 5 this season. I would say one. Put me on the spot. I would say number 1. I would go with Mattis. I think Mattis.
This is why you're supposed to have these pre-planned, Surge.
My bad. I'd say no. 1, I go Declan Rice. Declan Rice been huge every game. He's been brilliant.
That's
I
a
think
take.
Yeah, there's a take.
he's been great this season. Every game. Name one game where he's had. I understand he's a defensive midfielder, so like him and Rodri are never going to get kind of that notification like that.
I think he's top 5. I'll give you that.
I would say Rice.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Madison.
Mm-hmm.
I would say not I will say Rodri. I know he got the red card, but he's just such a consistent player. Like, and you see with City without him, like how irreplaceable he is. I understand that the only other 6 they have beside him is Calvin Phillips, which is difficult. But at the same time, he's irreplaceable in my opinion. Then I would say Salah's had another great year. I mean, obviously it's very, very hard to take him off the list. He's always going to be there. And then I will say Haaland. I know he has some games where he really kind of doesn't really show up, but at the same time, he's still one of the best goal scorers in the world, and he's had a great year again. So that would be my top 5 this season.
All right.
Okay.
My top 5 is going to look a little bit different than that. I'll start at number 5. I've also got Haaland there. I was very close to not putting him on this list, but you can't overlook a player that has 8 goals in 8 games.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to do. So even though he's not up to the standard he maybe set last year, 8 goals in 8 games is just fantastic. Just to say it again, my 4th best player, someone who I think has been totally overlooked this season, and my brother's going to love me for this, Pedro Neto, has been unbelievable this year. It was either him or Huang on this list. They've both been outstanding players. Neto leads the league in assists this year. I think he's just been really, if I had to pick one bright spot in the Wolves team that's now playing pretty well, it's Pedro Neto.
Yeah.
He's been their reason for beating City. He was their reason for the goal this weekend. He's been very fantastic this year.
He's primed for a big move.
Definitely.
Maybe. My number 3 player this year is going to be James Maddison. I think Madison's looked so unbelievably good. I just don't have him higher because I think the 2 guys I have in front of him have just been just that little bit better. But Maddison, we've all seen it. Assisted the goal this weekend to beat Luton. He's been so good this year. Number 2, someone I think should be on pretty much everybody's top 5 list. It's Kieran Trippier. He's the best right back in the world, and I can't find, there's no one else that comes close to him right now. He assists almost every goal that Newcastle scores, and unlike some other players who get forward, is good defensively. He is truly just he's the captain on the field. He is unbelievable. Every set piece you can expect a fantastic set piece, crosses. He can do everything there is to do for a right back. So I think Kieran Trippier has been easily a top 5 player for me in the Premier League this year. And number 1 best player in the Prem, Heung-min Son. I think there's been almost nobody. I mean, for me, I think there's been nobody better than Son this year. He's showing it. Tottenham are top of the league, and he's the striker. He's the Kane replacement, and he's looked just as good. So,
yeah. All right, my 5. At 5, I have Heung-min Son. I think he's been, obviously, Charlie talking about, I think you look at someone who takes the reins off Harry Kane. He has done it with really, step for step, stride for stride. Heung-min Son has been fantastic. That's obvious. He's on there. At number 4, I have Dominic Szoboszlai. I think you look at an impact player and in a position at Liverpool, I think the reason that they were so poor last year and what he has done, again, not a guy who is scoring the goals, but I think you look at, first of all, his work rate. He is 90th minute still sprinting, press rate, defensively, he's incredibly underrated. You look at the amount of times he wins the ball. He's just a talented player, like Trent said, and I think he's someone who has so much more to offer still. You look at, some of the strikes he's had. I mean, he has quite the foot on him. And I actually think it's super funny. Again, I'm not saying he is Steven Gerrard, but I actually think there are comparisons there where I thought they were completely unalike, but he has been fantastic. Number 3, I have Declan Rice as well. I actually do think people have been overlooking him. Declan Rice has been fantastic. I think Declan Rice was exactly what Arsenal were missing. Just kind of like an elite midfielder besides Odegaard to kind of hold them up. And obviously having Zinchenko slide inside has been able to push Declan Rice up. He has been fantastic for Arsenal, as we all expected him to be. At 2, I have Mohamed Salah. Again, he just never fails to produce for Liverpool. He's just fantastic. He contributes so much on the offensive side of the ball, whether that's scoring, whether that's assisting. He has been fantastic. So he has not slowed down. And at 1, I have James Maddison. Again, all of these players are good, but I think the impact Maddison has had on Spurs, and you kind of couple that with the reaction to him joining Spurs in the summer, where it's like, yeah, good signing. Like James Maddison, great player. He'll probably play pretty well. He has been an absolute revelation for Spurs fans. Undeniably quality for them. So for me, he's at the number 1 list. But again, we've all been similar lists there. But again,
except for the fact that you had 2 Liverpool players in there.
Yeah. How can you not say Salah's in the top 5?
I don't think he has been, right. He only has 4 goals
and 5 assists, 6 assists.
No, he does not have 6 assists.
Or he has 5.
But I don't know. For me, there hasn't been one Liverpool player who's really stood out. Salah's always going to score goals, but if I've got Haaland 5th with 8 goals, I can't put Salah on this list.
I think Haaland just scores. Salah, by stats wise, is playing better than James Maddison. He has more,
and he's had some of the most insane, almost same assists.
Yeah, exactly. You look at, He's easily top 5. I
I
think
think
top 3.
Salah is more of like a victim of his own success because obviously he sets such high standards for himself, not only in terms of goal scoring, but also obviously playmaking. He's huge, dribbling. He's massive. I think he's still definitely been a top 5 player in the league. I think the only thing that really would keep him from that is obviously just being tired of putting his name in the top 5 every year, even if he is slightly or just slightly declining.
I mean, I don't think he's declining at all. He has more goal contribution. He has 1 less goal than Son, 5 more assists, and more goals than James Madison, the same amount of assists. He's been fantastic. But we kind of talked about with the top 5. We're gonna go best and worst signings of the summer this far in the Premier League. Serge, we'll go to you first because you're very good at being decisive with this and not thinking for 20 minutes.
That's just disrespect. But anyways, I kind of tipped my hand already. I'm gonna say it's Declan Rice, and I understand that James Madison, who I've been very high on, has been such a key piece to why Tottenham has been so good. I think he's probably had the bigger impact because obviously Spurs have a lot higher to go than Arsenal, a lot more of a difference. But I think Declan Rice has been the best signing, and even at his price, because he is someone that I think does it all. Obviously, defensively, he's a rock, basically. You can't get past him. You saw him in that City match. If they don't have Declan Rice last year, if they have Declan Rice, I think they win at least the first City match, not the second because they had Rob Holding, so they would have lost no matter what. But the first match, he makes such a difference because he covers so much ground. He's so good at tackling. He's good in the buildup as well. He's a leader. There's really nothing more you could ask of a player like him. And he hasn't had a single bad performance yet. He's kind of, obviously, I wouldn't say he's better than Rodri yet, but he's having that kind of impact that Rodri, like kind of a similar kind of role that Rodri had last year for City, where every game he isn't putting a foot wrong. He's the player that's making things happen. Yet I wouldn't say he's getting overlooked because of his price tag, but obviously he doesn't score the goals or he doesn't always make the last stitch clearances all the way. Actually, that's wrong. He literally did last game, but he's obviously a 6 isn't always going to be the first player you think of as someone who obviously shows up on the stat sheet, but Rice has been every game. If you watch Arsenal play, which I've watched them a lot, he's stood out in every game for them. And that's why I think he's been so key to to them beating a team like City, which they failed to get over the hump last year.
Yeah. My best signing, and I know this is one Charlie has been pushing a lot. It's kind of out of the blue. I think it's Ryan Gravenberch. And that's only because they have no reaction from Charlie.
Nah, because we were literally planning to do exactly that. We were both gonna go like, "Oh, it's Moises Caicedo," and then be like,
"No, I'm joking." Okay, I am gonna be, and I know we talked about James Madison, and I think he's fantastic. My signing of the summer, we just talked about all of them, so I think it's. But yeah, my signing of the summer is James Madison. I think again, it is very repetitive. I would love to say Dominic Szoboszlai, and I think he's right there. But I think when you look at impact, James Madison again. I mean, we've harped on this so much. As someone who has gone into a team and changed the culture and been able to pick up the slack of a guy like Harry Kane so quickly, because Harry Kane. Like, obviously, the reason why he was such a good striker is one, because he could score 30 goals in a season, but also because he could drop in and his range of passing was like no other 9. I think that's what separated him from Haaland. Lewandowski is kind of like that, but Kane, you look at just all around striker was the best in the world, and I don't think he was very close. And again, I'm not saying Madison is Kane, but a guy who has been able to facilitate the game like Harry Kane, and then have a guy like Son who's kind of has that clinical aspect. I think Spurs just did such a good job of getting James Madison when it kind of seemed like the demand wasn't very strong. I think Tottenham were out and out the team that were going to get him from the moment they bidded for him. So again, for James Madison, a team that is 100% competing for a Premier League trophy this year. I think, I have to bow down to how good he has been for Spurs and how impactful, again, because there's a big difference between talent and then what he's doing at Spurs, which is contributing and impacting their game so much each match week. So it has to be James Madison. I know it's boring, but that's my pick.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there have actually been some really, really good signings here. I know you said you wanted to put Szoboszlai. I think Szoboszlai is definitely top 5.
Yeah,
and I would say even higher but there have been so many really good signings this summer, I think. Just in a list with Sandro Tonali, Jeremy Doku. It's been obviously James Madison, and then you've got guys like Rasmus Højlund is a new signing. I think this has just been a really good window for some top end signings. Declan Rice, obviously, sir, as you talked about. For me, my best signing of the year, it also has to be James Madison. I think he's the only signing that's been made this summer that where you take him out of the team he's currently in, and they're easily 6 points worse. I think. Not just looking at games that he specifically impacted, but if it's not James Madison, who's playing the 10? Like, are they going to go and stick Bentancur, who's not a 10 there? Are they going to play one of their wingers on the inside? Are they just it wouldn't work without Madison. The way this team works, it just wouldn't work without him. So I think Madison's been the clear best signing of the summer.
Yeah, it has to be. And I know that is boring, but I mean, there have been a lot of other ones, but I mean, it's just, I think the Madison one's clear. We'll move on now. I love this pick, or excuse me, this topic. Who will win the Premier League 8 match weeks in? It's a tough one.
Well, what if we go worst signing this summer first?
Oh, excuse me. Completely forgot. Surge, worst signing of the summer in the Premier League. Start us off.
I'm going to go, I think it's early. I'm going to say Onana, just because I think obviously such high expectations. Well, not even high expectations, but just expectations that he was going to be better than De Gea, who all United fans personally tried to drive out of the club. And for Onana, who was obviously had high expectations after a great performance in the Champions League final, has been so poor in terms of shot stopping. And obviously he's good on the ball. I just think he's been worse than De Gea, and for a team that said that that their goalkeeper situation was the problem, and now their goalkeeper situation is arguably worse. Everything else is worse. I would say it's Onana right now.
What ironic. I think it's been Mason Mount to Man United. I think Mason Mount, and again, Serge, to kind of, I mean, just we've talked about Man United, and I think Mason Mount has just been, and I think we could have predicted this, just been very just not there. I think we talked about it, and a big thing that Charlie talked about as a Chelsea fan, and we talked to Charlie when Mason Mount left, and this goes back to our podcast in the summer, it was, will Mason Mount fit in this team? Because we know Mason Mount has a very defined position. He can be he can be an out and out 10, but what they're putting him as with Bruno there is an 8. And they kind of have Bruno him both as 8, and he just, I don't think Mason Mount, like Onana, has been as glaringly bad with the huge mistakes. But I mean, Mason Mount just has been, and like he was at the end of his Chelsea career, just very unimpactful and unwanting to be a good player, and just looking untalented on the field. Again, he has his moments. Mason Mount, we know, passing wise, fantastic. He can shoot, he can score. He has obviously an accurate shot towards goal, but I think he's just been, again, I think you might not argue, I think worse signing, but just for the price tag and giving him the number 7 and you know, putting a lot of pressure on his back, leaving Chelsea, his boyhood club, it's just not been a statement for me. And Charlie, I would like to hear your thoughts on this also, but it's just, I think it's been very underwhelming. Look, not horrible. He hasn't been horrific and made a ton of mistakes like Onana, but I think you kind of take into account everything that was coming out after he was brought in the summer for 70 million, giving him that number 7 shirt, which obviously has a ton of value in Man United, and just the output he's giving has been nowhere near where it should be.
You're both like, those are not horrible picks, but you're both wrong. Like, okay. Objectively, there's been a player who's been worse.
Charlie, I'm actually very interested to see where I'm off, because I felt like I was missing.
I don't think Mason Mount's been good. Like, by no means. He's definitely a top 5 worst signing of the summer. Same with Onana, definitely a top 5 worst signing of the summer. I think the number 1 is just so glaringly obvious, and that's because, like, use your brain and learn a little bit before you go spend 75 million on Kai Havertz. What are you doing?
And then
this guy was so bad at Chelsea for 3 years. He scored, I believe it was 20 goals across 3 years, and he was our striker. That's so unbelievably bad. And for Onana, where I don't think he's the worst signing of the summer, is because that was a signing that any club in the Premier League would have made. Any club would have done that because Onana was
Yeah.
fantastic last year. Onana was great, and I know he hasn't lived up to the expectations so far, but he's only played 10 games in a Man United jersey. I'm not looking too far past it. He's played 8 games in the Premier League. Kai Havertz has played probably 80, 90, close to 100 at this point in the Prem, and he's still no better than when we first signed him.
I'm actually gonna have to give the point to Charlie here.
I think he's
right.
been so. Did you see the Arsenal players gave him the penalty so that he could have a morale booster and have a goal?
Yeah. And how excited they were after he
that,
scored it.
like that's really bad. Another name I wanted to throw out there. He's not my pick, but he's I think also definitely top 5. Sorry, Serge. Yuri Tielemans. He started 2 games for Aston Villa, and this was a guy who I remember in our summer podcast, or maybe this was just us talking one-on-one. You said he should start, and I said no, he should not be starting because they've got a great midfield. Douglas Luiz, Boubacar Kamara, John McGinn, Jacob Ramsey. This is a really, really good midfield that Tielemans didn't fit in and is not even starting for them. Why did they sign him?
I see your point, but I don't think you can even be top 5 in that when they signed him on a free. I mean, I think
that's the only reason he's not, not the number one.
As for Havertz, I agree. He's definitely been one of the worst. I mean, for all of them, really, I don't think any of them are truly flops yet. Because again, we're only like
Kai Havertz is such a flop, and it's crazy because he flopped at Chelsea. How can you sign a flop for the same fee that we signed him for when he was a wonder kid, and then not consider him a flop after he plays really badly for 10 games?
What I think right now when I watch Kai Havertz is it's kind of I feel like what Arsenal did.
Lost.
No. It's weird because I think actually there is potential because I think there's 2 best games where he played, or at least 2 best cameos.
Can you find 2 good games from Havertz?
I think both of his City games, he was good. And what's in common with those performances is he was playing as like a false 9 up as a number 9. And there he was actually, I thought he was pretty good. I mean, he literally had the game-winning assist for Arsenal against City. And I think the reason for that is because he's better. At least his profile, which is obviously very tall, definitely is good at. He's definitely solid at winning headers. He's good at kind of playing with the back to the defender. At least for Arsenal, what I've seen is that he was able to. Arsenal were able to play over the press. Havertz was able to win kind of those aerial duels, and we saw him again get the game-winning assist to Martinelli. And I think he could be a very solid false 9, especially because we saw with Leverkusen, he's very good at playmaking. But I think they signed him to be a number, like kind of, again, similar to the Mount role, where he's like an advanced number 8, like kind of playing a bit higher than Odegaard. And that just doesn't work because it doesn't look like, at least right now, it doesn't look like he has the vision for that. He's not really kind of smooth enough to kind of make plays on like kind of like in the way that other guys like Madison, like the Madisons are, the Odegaards are. I think, I think it's the problem with him signing him. So I think he has a lot of potential in that false 9 role, but you already have Gabriel Jesus there. Maybe Havertz is a long-term plan there, but I just don't really see what it was. But I think given his contribution in those 2 City games, which again, getting that assist and also overall giving in the Community Shield game where he was able to give Arsenal a huge opportunity to be an outlet again, through playing above the press through those long balls. I think he isn't the worst signing. I think he was misprofiled, and where he would be best playing, they already have a guy there.
Yeah, I disagree. I think they signed this guy for 75 million, and the only thing he's done is get moved from the starting lineup to the bench. The only reason he played against Man City this weekend is because Bukayo Saka was injured. He's been so unbelievably bad, and you say he has potential as false 9, but he also had streaks for Chelsea where he'd score 4 goals in 4 games. So what's different? There's nothing different about the way he's playing. Kean, you said it earlier.
Arsenal
he just looks lost
much
when he's
better
on the field.
I think this is like definitely the best position he's been in with the team, at least because I think Arsenal are definitely much more of a cohesive team than Chelsea.
No, but that's wrong because Chelsea won the Champions League with Kai Havertz.
No, I know, but I think Arsenal, in terms of like the league, they were a much they're like kind of, they have a more established starting 11. They definitely, I think they have a better chance of winning the league this year than Chelsea really ever had.
Chelsea was top of the league by Christmas a couple years ago, and then they fell off when everything happened.
Well, Arsenal were top. Well, Arsenal last year were top of the league until like
right, but Kai Havertz wasn't there.
No, I know, but I think that definitely shows that Arsenal team was better, I think, than Chelsea, at least league wise. They were a better league team than Chelsea were.
I think, yeah, but Kai Havertz won the Champions League with Chelsea, so
No, I know, I agree. I see your point. I
Checkmate.
just think that it was a better overall, like a better like team, like a better suited team in
so
terms
you
that
think
you
that
could get
Arsenal would have beaten Chelsea's Champions League winning team?
in the league. I think yes, because I think Chelsea were more of a cup team. Chelsea were more. I mean, Chelsea were more of a cup team.
I mean, yeah, Charlie,
They
he's
barely
right. Like,
they barely did make top four.
Hey, whatever.
we'll move
He's still
on to
bad.
end off the podcast. Charlie, the ever-knowing trivia man. Charlie has 4 trivia
It's
questions
Surge.
for us.
Surge
That
made
was
the
me.
questions
It's me
today.
Oh,
this
it's
time.
Surge. Oh,
Yeah.
excuse me. Surge all passing it down.
Mhm.
Surge has 4 trivia questions for us. Surge, I'm very excited.
All right.
Let's hear it.
So the first one, there are 6 players in the league right now that have scored 5 or more goals. So can you name all 6 of them? You guys-
Salah, Holland,
Holland, 100%.
Son.
Son.
Mhm.
Oh no, no,
Mhm.
Salah's 4. How many goals? Salah 4. So not Salah.
I don't think Salah has it.
So Son,
He
Holland.
does.
You
Salah
said
does.
5 or
Salah
more?
does.
There's
You said
there's
5 or
6.
more? Yeah, but 5
6
or more
players
goals.
with 5 or more goals.
Yeah.
Isak, because he scored 4 in one game.
Uh-huh.
And then he scored 2 this weekend, so he's got at least 6.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying we have Holland,
We have 4.
Isak, Son, and Salah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think
I was gonna say Nunez. I think he only has like 3.
no. Hwang Hee-chan could have 5.
Yeah, Hwang Hee-chan.
And
Surge.
Yes, he does.
Uh-huh.
Ferguson definitely doesn't.
Oh, Matoma?
No, definitely not goals. Definitely not 5 goals.
You got 5.
Oh, you know he may have 5 goals. Jared Bowen may have 5 goals.
Yeah, Jared Bowen.
Jared Bowen's a monster. Jared Bowen gets no recognition, man.
You're right. That's it. Those are the 6.
There we go. That was probably one of the
Dude, knock
quickest.
that
There we
crap
go.
out. Come on.
All right, next one. I think you already got one of them, so this should be slightly easier. Can you name the 3 players that scored 2 or more goals this weekend? So two who scored a brace basically.
Isak scored a brace.
Isak.
Let's remember what the games were. Who scored goals this weekend? What team scored? Oh, McTominay.
Mm-hmm.
McTominay.
How many were there? You said
And
3. So one more.
3 players. Oh, Salah scored a brace.
Yep, you're right.
yeah, right. He did.
There
You're
you
right.
go.
Yeah, because
And
Salah had
now-
a penalty.
Oh, right. Yeah. Brighton.
Mhm.
Okay. Third question, and this is kind of like, so this is according to FOTMob, and for other teams, it's for other like XG things, it's like actually more teams. But according to FOTMob, what are the 4 teams that have created more XG than Man City this year?
Spurs.
One that I saw that was nuts. Everton.
No,
I know-
that was according to a different.
That was a different one.
Spurs. Surge. Spurs.
Nope.
Liverpool.
Oh wow.
Yes.
According to
Liverpool.
FOTMob.
Arsenal.
Nope.
Brighton, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Brighton has the
I would
highest, actually.
say maybe Newcastle and Villa.
Yeah.
Oh, we got both of them.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm just locked in.
That was a good one. And last one, this is gonna be kind of again similar to what Charlie does with the running back game. So you guys are gonna have to name players that scored this
Uh-huh.
week. And you can use the ones that you already named, and because
Okay.
just get started off. And
Okay,
then
Isak.
Okay, can you go first? Yeah.
Isak.
All right, Martinelli,
Salah.
Sterling,
McTominay.
Cole Palmer,
Jackson.
Adingra.
Dingra.
Wait, Adingra?
Adingra scored against Liverpool.
Yeah, he did. Lewis Dunk.
Dunk. Yep.
Lewis Dunk scored, yeah. Kudus, the volley.
Yep. Suchek.
Yep.
Hwang.
Yep.
Mhm.
I'm forgetting the dude on Burnley. Oh no, not Mudryk. It was who scored? It was Jackson. Sterling. Oh, you say Sterling, Charlie?
I said Sterling.
You did say
Okay, Sterling had.
Yeah,
No,
5
Sterling didn't
seconds.
have two.
No, you had one.
5, 4, 3, 2,
Is it Mudryk? No. Right?
1. Mudryk.
It was an
did
own goal.
not.
The fourth goal.
Oh, right.
Own goal. It was
Odo
Akil.
Bear scored for Burnley.
Odo Bear.
That's
did.
who it was.
All right. Oh, wait, Keane. So you have one life left.
Let me think. Who played this weekend? Yeah, Martinelli scored. I don't remember the games. Calvert-Lewin score?
Is that your guess?
Yeah.
No, Calvert-Lewin did not score.
Okay.
So,
Everton. It was Garner,
Mhm.
Oh, right.
Ducore, and Garner, Ducore, and Jack Harrison.
Yep,
Yeah,
Jack Harrison.
Harrison goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did Jack Harrison scored a nice goal?
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching us. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok where we post clips from all of our podcasts. That is linked in the description to this video as well. If you are listening to us on any platform, any audio platform, make sure to give us 5 stars. Subscribe to us on that platform. Give us a review. That would be greatly loved
Appreciated.
by us. So, appreciated, excuse me. There's a word. And yeah, thank you all so much. See you next time.